Why, hello there. I have my lovely cat Briar with me, and I thought I'd review Gucci Guilty Pour Homme. Kind of an interesting metallic bottle, and the juice has been colored a similar tone, kind of a grayish silver color. Well, Gucci Guilty is kind of one of these infamous fragrances. I think it's a very popular fragrance. A lot of people love Gucci Guilty. And so I thought, why not review it since I have it? And I have to say, Um, the first time I bought this fragrance blind, and the first time I smelled Gucci Guilty, I recognized immediately that this is an extremely complicated formula. There is so much going on. Initially, right off the bat, you get some citruses, kind of a lemony sort of citrus. You get some florals. It's kind of a blend of florals, maybe some lavender and some white florals. um, some ozonic qualities, and then there's just this labyrinth of supporting complexity. It's just one of those fragrances that talking about it from the perspective of a hobbyist perfumer is almost like, where do I begin? Because there's so much going on, behind the curtain on this one, that it's a little bit difficult to even do a fragrance review for this fragrance. At some level, you almost don't feel qualified to do a fragrance review for this, but nevertheless, I'm going to give it a good shot. So, if you go on to Fragrantica, you find 3.68 out of 5, 4,000 votes. This is not like a wildly high score for like a well loved fragrance, but it's a respectable score. And, Gucci is one of those brands that draws a lot of attention and a lot of interest. So, my guess would be, with a name like Gucci Guilty, you're expecting something kind of masculine and kind of powerful, and this fragrance actually offers a pretty subtle blend with a lot of florals, not overpowering sweetness, some aromatic facets, and it's probably just not what people are hoping for, based on the name Gucci Guilty. But I think it's a very good masculine, floral, fresh and clean kind of fragrance. It's a great office scent for that reason. Um, and well, let's just get into it. I think also probably from a name, brand like Gucci, people are probably project expecting beast mode projection, beast mode endurance. And I think that with this mix of materials, it's probably letting some people down in the modern world where people are expecting, like Dior Sauvage level projection or, Club de Nuit Intense Man levels of projection. You're not going to get that with this. It's a little more understated. Fresh, clean, laundry, lavender kind of thing going on. So I guess the first thing that I'll address, since I've said fresh, clean, laundry, lavender, is that there's probably an intentional laundry accord happening between the lavender notes and what I would guess is tonalide and galaxolide, to create this kind of clean, white, musky laundry smell, at the base of this fragrance. And there's probably some kind of fresh citrus accord happening between materials like linalool, which are in basically all men's fragrances, limonene, things like that. um, but then there's also this other accord which is very interesting, which is kind of like a white floral orange blossom spice. And that's occurring between materials like geraniol, which is kind of like a geranium material, but it has this kind of fuzzy, almost spiced quality. Um, and that's blending in with eugenol, which is a replacement for clove. It's a synthetic clove ingredient, so that's creating some spice. And then they're leaning in with a kind of like a white floral supporting base of materials such as possibly anisal alcohol, um, which would kind of support the eugenol, but it would also support the florals, because it has this kind of almost slightly licorice facet. Um, but it is very good in supporting florals. It has a kind of almost like a sweet flower thing going on. There could be benzyl salicylate, which is also commonly used in supporting florals. I've grabbed benzyl acetate on accident. That's most likely not in this fragrance. Benzyl salicylate is a good one to support florals. Hedione, of course, one of the classic affordable floral materials. Almost certainly has hedione in this fragrance. Isui Super is probably the material that they're using to give, what Fragrantica refers to as cedar. It's probably actually Isui Super, even though it really doesn't smell like cedar. And I really don't get cedar from this fragrance. That's why I would think it would be Isui Super. And you get these kind of aldehydic qualities, possibly amyl glycolate, things like that, or some kind of aldehydic ozonic materials are in this. They're dosed somewhat smaller than some of the previous fragrance reviews I've done where I've mentioned these materials, but I think they're present. And then you get some kind of powdery facets. So then there's another accord happening between vanilla and powdery notes. Vanillin, possibly, well, certainly coumarin is in this fragrance. There's no doubt about that, which gives it kind of a sweetness and a hay quality, which kind of thickens in the kind of lower-ish register of the fragrance. And then there's like, I just can't shake the feeling that there are some lactonic materials that were used in this, which give kind of almost like a milky or like a dairy kind of a scent profile to this. And they're commonly used to support jasmine notes. There's probably some kind of jasmine, like subtle floral jasmine notes. Actually, anisal alcohol is also kind of a jasmine sort of thing. So there's all these different white floral raw materials being used. And in my opinion, that's why it's not really clear exactly what the white floral is in this fragrance, because I actually don't think that there really is any specific white floral. I think there's sort of like geranium, neroli, or orange blossom, or all of these different jasmine kind of materials present, and they form this kind of generic white floral bouquet, which supports the initial touch of lavender. But that's a different accord. It's like white floral and lactonic notes to create kind of a creamy white floral effect, which kind of synergizes with the powdery notes in the vanillin and the coumarin, um, and possibly even materials like guaiacol, for example, might be present to enhance the sort of powdery facets. And I think there could be a material called Indoline 50 at the base as well, which gives a kind of lasting floral anchor. It's kind of like a floral musk, if you will. It gives it kind of a more permanent anchor. And somewhere between all of these complicated materials, which ostensibly don't even really appear to go together, you get this astonishingly complex, kind of fresh, kind of clean, kind of floral, kind of milky, kind of powdery fragrance. And the blend, the geometry on this thing is unbelievable because there's not really a single one that stands out other than uh, floral is probably the dominant note in Gucci Guilty. Um, Definitely clean laundry floral is kind of the emphasis for Gucci Guilty. There are supporting blues, there are supporting musks, there are supporting masculine facets, which kind of lean it towards more of the the men's side. It doesn't really feel very unisex because of the ozonic, the aldehydic, the musks, the blue, all of these kinds of materials. Something slightly aquatic, leaning into that fresh facet. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But for the most part, it's not ozonic in a big way. It's ozonic in a very subtle way. It's not aquatic in a big way. It's a very subtle aquatic. And what you get a lot more of are the florals and the clean kind of laundry musks. And so because of the complexity of this blend, I would assume there's well over 100 raw materials, probably closer to 200 in this fragrance. Um, I'm kind of in awe as a hobbyist perfumer as to just how sophisticated the perfumery was in this fragrance. And now after all of that, I guess it's probably time to admit that I don't really love this fragrance. It's not for me, but it's definitely more for me than the last review I just did, which was Nautica Voyage, because it has more floral notes. And because of the kind of powdery or even creamy facets that are present in this, and even the vanilla to some extent, it's better fit for me than a fragrance like Nautica Voyage. I would possibly even wear this to work, but there is something about it that feels a little like there's a little dissonance in the fragrance between some of the blue and the fresh, and then the floral and the powdery milky facets. Somehow to me there's something in that there's like an internal dilemma in this fragrance that doesn't quite work for me. So, um, my neighbors are yelling at a cat. All right, so there's something in this fragrance that to me feels a little bit dissonant, and it kind of bothers me if I'm being transparent. But not a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of like in awe at the perfumery of this, because it feels like such an unlikely combination of materials to pull off this well. Um, Now, I don't know if I'm imagining this, but I did kind of want to mention there's like some kind of super minute, like I'm talking extremely diluted, like 0.01% dilution level of something which to me smells like either valeric acid or isobutyric acid. Um, and those are materials which actually, if you smell them in their full concentration, they smell disgusting. They smell like vomit. But in a extreme dilution, they actually, believe it or not, they actually enhance floral notes a little bit. They add a little touch of realism to floral notes. And they also have lactonic qualities, which enhance that kind of dairy, that kind of creamy thing. So to me, it's not outside of the realm of possibility that perhaps some of these kinds of materials were used, but it's hard to say. Um, However, I have basically no doubt that, floral supporting notes like anisal alcohol charismol or benzyl salicylate were used in combination with galaxolide to create that kind of laundry white floral accord. Um, and Yeah, for me, that's really the defining characteristic of this fragrance. And I quite like that accord. Whatever was used to create the kind of like woody facet, probably Icy Super with something else. Um, it doesn't quite sync for me. Like it feels slightly out of place. But I think I just give credit to the perfumer for getting it this close, which really takes this kind of extremely light, fluffy floral and brings it into a more masculine territory where, there's no question that this is a man's fragrance. And that's pretty magical perfumery, I have to say. So from like a perfumer's difficulty perspective, this thing is like 9 out of 10 complexity. It is so complex. It is such a difficult fragrance to make. Um, and so I'm very impressed from that perspective. The quality of the juice is very good. I think you'll probably get 4 to 5 hours of projection, and you'll probably get some decent, um, performance out of it in terms of how long it lasts as well. Maybe a similar time frame, maybe a little bit longer. Um, I think that you can get this for a pretty reasonable price. I want to say like $50, maybe even less if you go on discounters, maybe a little more than that. I don't remember. I bought this a little while ago. But in the $50 price range, it feels like a pretty good, daily driver. If you love the juice, you could wear it to the office. I don't really think this is going to bother a lot of people. It smells pretty clean, and most people like floral, so it's kind of hard to go wrong with it. So I'm gonna give it a score of like 7 on versatility, 6.5, something like that. It's pretty versatile. You could wear this to a lot of occasions. So if you're a young professional and you don't have the budget to spend on a lot of different fragrances, this is probably a decent option to smell kind of clean and professional. And it has a masculine bend, but it's not like an aged fragrance. I don't think you need to be an old man to wear this. I think pretty much any man, young or older, could wear this comfortably because of the complexity of the fragrance and the floral emphasis. So I'm gonna say it's also probably good in almost all weather. So I think honestly, versatility might be 7 or 8. Even it might even be an 8. Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, who can't wear Gucci Guilty, and in what setting could you not wear this? I'm having a hard time really thinking of one. So maybe an 8 on versatility. Um, quite a good versatile fragrance. So and the value's good. So you know, another 7 or 8 on that. Really, I don't have any like scathing critiques other than I don't really love it, but that's not really a critique. And it's surprising that I don't really love it because most of the materials that are used in it, I do love. It's just something about the blend is there's just some kind of dissonance in it, which to me is it just feels like there's some thing about it that's unresolvable inside of it. And I think it's somewhere in between the kind of blue woodsy, creamy thing that's not working for me somehow. The kind of almost like dairy, lactonic dairy facet that's kind of not working for me somehow. But I think that the florals are great. The florals and the powdery accord is great, and it chains into that kind of laundry smell very well. And it does have a very distinct masculine bend, kind of the ozonic, woodsy blue musks are working together. The other accord is working together, and there's a blend that's like very well done. It uses some kind of aldehydes to sort of cross that bridge. Um, and so it's exceptionally well blended, unbelievable perfumery, but it just doesn't quite suit my taste. So on a how much I like it scale, honestly, probably like 4, maybe even 3.5 out of 10. Don't really love it. Um, so I guess that's where the 3.68 on Fragrantica comes from out of 5, because I have a feeling there's going to be some percentage of people who either wanted something stronger or a little more masculine, a little more edgy, or more intense based on the name, or there's something about that blend that doesn't quite resolve for them, and they're in the same boat as me. But from a perfumer's perspective, I think it's a phenomenal work of art. And if you can get your nose on it, um, and you love it, there's a pretty good price range for it. So, yeah. Anything else? I think that's it. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. Please feel free if you did have a good time here, like, subscribe, all of that. Share with your friends if you do that. And I'll catch you in the next one. We're going to do more fragrance reviews. So, thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.